Well, friends of the world, Maldini. So this is a video of reflection, of opinion, which I quite like to do. And I know you quite like to give your opinion as well on everything I comment here on your channel in the world. Maldini, about Barca and what could be the ideal 11 for Barca, and above all Barca. Right now there is an evident dilemma, Flick, very clear, positional, between Fermín, Gavi, and Dani Olmo. They are three players for one position. Three very different players that I am going to analyze, and I want to talk a bit about all three. And above all, if this is Dani Olmo's moment, what does Dani Olmo have in his favor, and what does Dani Olmo have against him? The other day in Las Palmas, Dani Olmo, this afternoon I will comment on Movistar about the Barça versus Atletico de Madrid match. We will see whether Dani Olmo is a starter in the team or not in Barca in this first leg of the Copa semifinals. I will comment on it on Movistar. You will have videos from the stadium, of course. But the other day in Las Palmas, Dani Olmo came on and was the best player for Barca. He was the best player for Barca. He scored the first goal and gave the impression that he could be the solution. It's Dani Olmo's moment. Dani Olmo has a problem, a rather serious one, and that is injuries. He is a player who tends to get injured. He's a player who cannot last 7, 8 consecutive matches. In fact, I believe that Barca will try to find some way to prevent this from continuing to happen. Some treatment, Barca has to find something so that this doesn't happen to Dani Olmo. It's a shame because logically, a player with that problem significantly lowers his performance and his opportunities. But here, what it's about in Barca's 4-2-3-1, I consider as starters a double pivot of Young and of course Pedri. I think Young is already ahead of Casado, and then the wings, Rafinha, false wing because Rafinha plays inside so that Valdés can stretch the field. But well, Rafinha on the left, Al-Hamid on the right, and Lewandowski as the number 9. The only position that is uncertain in what would be Barca's strongest starting lineup with everyone available is behind Lewandowski, and there are 3 options. I insist: Fermín, Gavi, and Dani Olmo. For me, let's see, Fermín contributes a lot of work. He's a very box-to-box player, quite aggressive, though not as much as Gavi. I like Fermín. I think he's a very good player. He was the best player of the Olympic tournament, for example, and he performs quite well at Barca. And it's one of Xavi's successes. As many things about Xavi are not remembered for the good things he also did. And I want to make a point to send this message for me, which is very important. And it's that Xavi also did good things at Barca. Besides the title he won, Xavi was the one who promoted Cubarsí to the first team. He is the one who promoted Mijamala to the first team, and the one who promoted Fermín to the first team. After Linares' decision, he saw the possibilities. Fermín is a footballer who excels in open space. Surely among the 3, comparing Fermín, Olmo, and Gavi, the one who moves into space, the best is Fermín. The one who is best at going back and forth is Fermín. But of course, Barca usually faces opponents who sit back defensively. Usually, Fermín is a player who, if he has space to run, can be dangerous, even more so than Gavi or even Dani Olmo. But 90%, I would say, even more of the matches Barca faces are against opponents who sit very deep. That is the reality, and that is what Flick has to face and manage. That's why I think that when considering a regular starter at Barca, I would rule out Fermín, and we would have to decide between Gavi and Dani Olmo. By regular starter, I mean the one who would play in the Champions League semi-finals, or the one for the Clásico against Madrid, or a Champions League final against big opponents who you know won't sit back permanently. Gavi seems to me to be a very aggressive player, and I think he is technically very good. Of course, he is very good, but I believe that technically he is not only inferior, but clearly inferior to Dani Olmo, in my opinion. What does Gavi have that Dani Olmo doesn't? Well, that aggressiveness, that ability to work without the ball, that ability to bite, which is very important because one of Barca's keys is the high press. And I think that's why he is also being favored in many matches. Flick. For Gavi, although Dani Olmo, I insist, the issue of injuries is a problem. In fact, Dani Olmo hasn't played more because of the injuries he has had. Gavi is a player who can score goals, of course, who can combine quite well. But fundamentally, he is an aggressive footballer, right? He has other characteristics, but that aggressiveness sometimes goes a bit overboard. It must also be said, in my opinion, that it is Gavi's hallmark. Gavi is more of a midfielder, a pure midfielder. I don't see him so much behind the striker. What happens is that in Barca's 4-2-3-1 formation, that position, that shifts is not the midfielder position. It's practically the attacking midfielder, trequartista, as they would say in Italy. And in that, Gavi, it seems to me, struggles more. If Barca played a clearer 4-3-3, Gavi would have more chances of being a regular starter. For me, the best of all is Dani Olmo. I have to say that for me, the best player among the three of Fermín, Gavi, and Dani Olmo is Dani Olmo. If Dani Olmo didn't have the injury problems he has, Dani Olmo would be indisputable at Barca. That's my feeling. For me, he would be indisputable at Barca in important matches. Why do I believe this? Well, because I believe that among the three, he is the player who has the most clarity to make the final or penultimate pass, which is fundamental. He is the player who turns best when receiving with his back to the goal to quickly look for the vertical play, for the verticality that Barca often needs. He is the player with the greatest ability to help Pedri in organization, I think, clearly. Dani Olmo, when he drops a few meters to play, even to play as an interior, instead of as an attacking midfielder, as an interior, he has an organizing ability that neither Gavi nor Fermín possess. I sincerely believe that he is a player of a higher level than Fermín, and also I also believe he is superior to Gavi. I think the solution for Barca is Dani Olmo. I believe Dani Olmo, whenever he has come in, has contributed a lot to the team with that layer, and then the shot he has. Of course, he is a player who can score. We have a player who scores quite a bit. As we've seen with the Spanish national team, I think among the three, I don't have much doubt about who it would be. Dani Olmo would be my choice. Dick, if he were at 100%. And I think that in the end, little by little, throughout the season, Silva, the issue of Dani Olmo's injuries, will be resolved, and the season will make it clear that Dani is ahead. That's what I believe. Friends of the world, Madrid, that's what I believe. In a top starting 11 for Barca, let's say. A final against Madrid, which could happen, by the way, a classic against Madrid. For me, the ideal Barca team would be, let's put Szczęsny, because he's the one being trusted, but well, let's put Szczęsny. And then put, of course, Koundé, Cubarsí, Íñigo Martínez, and Valdés. Head of Araujo. I think that ahead of Araujo, it could be Araujo as a fullback, but ahead of Araujo, and then I'm very clear, it would be Frenkie, De Jong, Pedri, Lamine, Yamal, Rafinha, Dani Olmo, and Robert Lewandowski. I believe this 11 competes with any 11 that any team in Europe can field. Without a doubt, Barca is the team that is playing the best, attacking the best, and scoring the most goals. And I think they still lack one of the main cards to exploit, which is Dani Olmo. So I would choose Dani Olmo in this starting lineup, clearly ahead of Fermín and also ahead of Gavi. I want to know your opinion, friends of the world. Maldini, did I say Dani Olmo's time? I think so. If he overcomes the issue of injuries, this is a video I wanted to make to reflect with you. Right before the Copa semi-final between Barca and Atletico de Madrid. I invite you once again to watch it on Movistar. I will have a video from the stadium. Oh, of course, as always, a hug bye.